So we'll be continuing with the living world, diversity in the living world. If you look around, you will see a large variety of living organisms, be it potted plants, insects, birds, your pets, or other animals and plants. So if you look around, you will see, you can see a large number of or a variety of living organisms. There are also several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eye, but they're all around you. In the case of bacteria, viruses, etc., you cannot see these organisms with your naked eye, but still they're all around you. If you were to increase the area that you make observations in, the range and variety of organisms that you would see increase. Obviously, if you were to visit a dense forest, you would probably see a much greater number and kinds of living organisms in it. If you observe in the case of a forest, you can see a huge number or a much greater number and different kinds of organisms. Each different kind of plant, animal, or organism that you see represents a species. So, each different kind of plant, animal, or organism that we see represent a species. The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. That is very important. The total number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. This refers to biodiversity or the number and type of organisms present on Earth. So that is what is called as biodiversity. The number and the different types of organisms present on Earth. We should remember here that as we explore new areas and even old ones, new organisms are continuously being identified. So the important thing is that the total number of species that each different kind of animal, plant, or organism that we uh, find is called as a species. The total number of species present in the earth counts between 1.7 to 1.8 million, and that is referred to. These different types of organisms refers to the diversity, biodiversity. As stated earlier, there are millions of plants and animals in the world. We know the plants and animals in our own area by their local names. These local names would vary from place to place, even within a country. Probably you would recognize the confusion that would be created if we did not find ways and means to talk to each other to refer to organisms we are talking about. So we know that there are millions of plants and animals in this world, and we call these animals by our local name. And these local names may vary even within a country. So if there is no if there isn't any method to determine that animal in a universal way, it would be very difficult to identify an organism. Okay. Hence, there is a need to standardize the naming of living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This process is called a nomenclature. So, there is a need to standardize the name of living organisms so that a living organism is known by the same name all over the world. And this process is called a nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to. This is identification. So, nomenclature is possible when we correctly describe the organism and we know to what organism that name is attached to. That is called as identification. In order to facilitate the study, the number of scientists have established procedures to assign a scientific name to each non-organism. This is acceptable to biologists all over the world. For plants, scientific names are based on agreed principles and criteria which are provided in the International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. You may ask, how are animals named? Animal taxonomists have evolved the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. Okay, so in the case of plants, the names are provided by ICBN, International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. In the case of animals, the names are given by ICZN, International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. The scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the people in any part of the world to arrive at the same name. They also ensure that such a name has not been used for any other non-organism. So, scientific name should ensure that each organism has only one name, and that name has not been used to describe any other organism. And when you see that scientific name, anybody in any part of the world should be able to recognize that organism. Okay, so what is important is that the scientific names in the case of plants are provided by International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. In the case of animals, that is International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. Biologists follow universally accepted principles to provide scientific names to non-organisms. Each name has two components, the generic name and the specific epithet. This system of providing a name with two components is called binomial nomenclature. This naming system, given by Carolus Linnaeus, is being practiced by biologists all over the world. This naming system using a two-word format was found convenient. Okay, so the method that is being followed now is called as binomial nomenclature. And this system was introduced by Carl Linnaeus. The system given by Carl Linnaeus is being practiced by biologists all over the world, where scientific name, two components. A scientific name has two components, a generic name and a specific epithet. And this type of providing name with two components is termed as binomial nomenclature. This is very important. The system of providing a name which is being followed nowadays was introduced by Carl Linnaeus, and in that system, that where two different components are given to a name. The first part is called as the generic name and the second part is called as specific epithet. And this type of providing two different components to a name is called as binomial nomenclature.